Beloved, I have heard you when you thought no one did. In those moments, when the room was still and your heart was loud with ache, I was listening. I was there when you sat on the edge of your bed, unmoving, staring into the void with eyes that could not produce tears because they had already wept too many. I was there when your lips trembled with prayers you never spoke aloud, when your spirit reached for me in the language of silence. Not a single cry of your heart has been lost to the wind, my beloved. I have gathered every unspoken word and held it close. For I am not a God who requires noise to notice you. I am not moved by volume. I am moved by truth. The world around you tells you that to be heard, you must shout. That to be noticed, you must make a scene. But I created silence. I placed power in stillness. When the mountains tremble, when the seas rage, when the earth groans, I remain steady in the silence that follows. It is in that quiet space that I do my deepest work. Your loudest prayers have not always been the ones you've spoken. Some of the most powerful cries you've lifted to me came from a place too deep for words, too sacred for sound. I heard those. I hear them still. You wonder sometimes if I am near because you don't hear me the way you expect. You expect thunder, a voice that breaks through clouds, a sign that parts the sky. But I have always spoken gently to the ones I love. The fire may rage, the wind may howl, but I am in the whisper. And when even the whisper is too much for your soul to bear, I come into the silence and sit with you there. I do not grow impatient with your quiet. I do not need explanations. I don't wait for well-crafted sentences. All I need is you, willing, open, present. There have been times, I know, when the silence scared you, when it felt like absence, like abandonment. You asked me, "Where are you?" and heard no reply. But child, my silence was never my absence. I was not gone. I was working, I was holding you. I was interceding on your behalf with groans too deep for words. In the same way that a parent watches a sleeping child, not disturbing the rest that heals, I watched over you. In the same way that the sun continues to warm the earth, even when clouds block its light, my presence remained, even when you couldn't see or feel it. You're not ignored. You have never been invisible to me. Every moment you've spent in the wilderness of unanswered questions, every second you've lingered in the shadow of why, I have walked beside you. And while others may require you to speak, to explain, to justify the depth of your sorrow, I simply require your surrender. You do not need to impress me with perfect prayers. You do not need to perform. I am not looking for ceremony. I'm looking for your heart. Do you remember when you were young and believed that if you closed your eyes and wished hard enough, something magical might happen? That childlike faith wasn't wrong. It was simply looking for me in a way your heart could understand. That same longing, that same innocent reaching, that was prayer. And even now, when your faith feels bruised and your hope feels fragile, that flicker within you still reaches me. I answer not because you earn it, but because I love you. I answer because I delight in being near to you, because your silent prayers are written into the rhythm of your being, and I know your rhythm. I made it. Let me remind you of something eternal. The language of heaven does not always sound like words. It sounds like trust. It sounds like surrender. It sounds like the beating of a heart that refuses to give up, even when it has no strength left to speak. I have always been fluent in the unspoken. The world may overlook your silence, but heaven leans in. I lean in. I draw closer still. I sit with you in the ache, and I answer in ways the world may not see, but your soul will recognize. There is a place in my heart where your quiet cries echo louder than the world's shouts. And I promise you this: I will not leave those prayers unanswered. I will not waste your waiting. I'm already moving, already arranging, already weaving together the answers that will come in my time. Not one of your silent petitions has fallen away unnoticed. They live here with me. They shape my actions on your behalf. They matter deeply. You matter deeply, so don't let the silence lie to you. Don't let the absence of sound convince you of the absence of my love. I am closer than your next breath, nearer than your next thought. I have cupped my ear to your chest and heard the unvoiced prayer beating in your spirit. And I say again, I will answer. I am answering even now. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. Your silent prayer has reached me, and I will not let it return void. There is something sacred in the moments when words fail you. You may feel broken, unsure, or even unworthy to approach me, but it is in those very moments that I draw closest. You see, my child, when the surface of your life becomes too heavy to carry, and you can no longer find the words to cry out, I do not demand your strength. I offer mine. I do not ask for articulation. I invite authenticity. Your silence is not a barrier between us. It is a bridge, a holy invitation for me to step in, to fill the space where language ends and love begins. You've been taught that effective prayer must be structured, eloquent, or persistent. But what if I told you that I'm not measuring your worth through your articulation? I'm not tallying your words or analyzing your phrasing. I am simply waiting for your heart. When all you can do is breathe in pain and exhale longing, when all that remains is the ache that sits beneath your ribs, I am already there. And more than that, I am not only near, I am responding. I work in silence too, you might ask. But if you're responding, why can't I see it? Because some of my most powerful answers begin underground. Like seeds planted in hidden soil, they must be nurtured in silence before they sprout in sight. Would you doubt the tree just because you cannot yet see its root? Would you abandon the harvest because it begins in stillness? Trust this. Even now, in the hush of unanswered prayer, something holy is growing. I'm tending to what you entrusted to me even when you did not have the words to offer it aloud. Remember, I created you with layers: soul, mind, spirit, heart. Not all prayer rises from your mouth. Much of it is born from your soul's posture. Sometimes your most fervent prayer is the way you continue showing up, even when you feel empty. Sometimes it's the way you whisper, "Help," in your heart, while smiling on the outside. Sometimes it's just your willingness to sit with me. No performance, no masks, just you as you are. That is enough. I receive you in full every time. Do you know how deeply I cherish your hidden moments? The times when you sit quietly with me, without expectation, simply to be near my presence. Those are treasures in my kingdom. They are pure, untouched by the world's demands or the need to prove anything. You don't need to dress your prayers up for me. I'm not moved by ornament. I'm moved by intimacy. Give me the raw places, the fragmented sentences, the silent aching. That's where I do my best work. That's where I pour out my healing. When you walk through pain that others cannot see, when your grief is invisible but heavy, when the smile you wear is a shield hiding a battlefield inside, know this: I see you. I see behind the curtain, beneath the disguise. And I do not flinch, I do not turn away, I move toward you. I dwell within the places you thought were too silent, too hidden for anyone to care. I've built my home inside your depths, not your polish. And it's from that holy place that my answers rise. You're waiting, I know. And waiting in silence feels like standing in an empty room, hoping someone will walk through the door. You wonder if I'm on the other side, if I even heard the knock. But child, I was already inside the room with you. The moment your heart reached for me, I was there. And while you may not yet see the response, I assure you, My answer is in motion. Not every answer arrives in the form you expect. Sometimes it is peace when you ask for a solution. Sometimes it is strength when you ask for relief. Sometimes it is stillness when you ask for a way out. But my answers are never absent, only unfolding. You live in a world that applauds action, reaction, and instant results. But I work in eternity. I do not rush what is eternal for the sake of what is urgent. And you, my beloved, are eternal. Your silent prayer is not merely a momentary cry. It is a divine transaction. You have placed your heart into my hands, and I hold it with reverence. I will not drop it. I will not forget. I will not delay out of neglect, but out of perfect timing. You're not in a queue. You're in my hands. I know how silence can feel like isolation, but my silence is not distance. It's depth. I'm going deeper into your heart than you knew possible, preparing answers that won't just patch a wound, but restore wholeness. You've asked me to heal a moment, but I'm healing your story. You've prayed for peace in a situation, but I'm writing peace into your identity. I'm not just answering your request. I'm reshaping you to receive it fully, to carry it with wisdom, to live in the abundance that you haven't even dared to dream. Don't be afraid of the quiet. Don't resent it. Let it become the sacred space where we commune, spirit to spirit, breath to breath. Let the silence be where trust is born, not because you hear an answer, but because you know I am faithful. Let it remind you that I am not a faraway God responding to long-distance cries, but a God who lives inside you, responding even before you ask. You are not praying into emptiness. You are praying into me, and I am answering, even now. You have carried silence like a weight at times, haven't you? Not because you didn't want to speak, but because the words just wouldn't come. Pain can be so deep it steals your voice. Fear can be so paralyzing it clenches your throat. Shame can convince you that silence is safer than exposure. But I need you to know that in your quietness, I never accused you. I never turned away, waiting for you to articulate your sorrow. I came to you, not to ask for your words, but to hold your heart. I saw when your voice broke mid-sentence, and you turned away so no one would notice your tears. I saw when you sat with clenched hands, unable to pray, unsure if I'd still want to hear from you. And in those moments, I never recoiled from your silence. I leaned in. The world might misread your quiet as weakness or detachment, but I never confuse silence with distance. I know the language of pain. I know the dialect of your spirit. I hear you even when you've gone completely still. Sometimes silence is a survival instinct, born from the exhaustion of trying to explain yourself to others who never truly listen. But I'm not like them. I never interrupt your soul. I never rush you to speak before you're ready. With me, your silence is a sanctuary, not a sentence. A place where your spirit can breathe without performance, where I can minister to your heart without you needing to defend your wounds. Even now, you may be asking, if you hear me, why do I feel so alone? Because the ache you feel is not because I've left, but because you were made for me. You were created to live in my presence, and anything that clouds that intimacy will naturally cause unrest in your soul. But hear me clearly. Silence is not the absence of my presence. It's often the space where I am doing the deepest work. I'm not only answering your cry, I'm reshaping you to receive what you've asked for in a way that won't break you. You think of silence as stillness, but it is anything but passive in my hands. I use silence like an artist uses shadow, strategically, lovingly, to shape beauty and depth. In the silence, I'm exposing hidden lies you believed about yourself. In the quiet, I'm healing old wounds so they don't bleed into new blessings. When your mouth goes quiet, your spirit becomes louder, and that's when you can begin to truly hear me. The world has convinced you that words equal strength, that noise equals progress. But I define strength differently. Strength is found in your willingness to be vulnerable before me, to come into my presence stripped of pretense. Strength is in trusting me when you don't understand, in staying when it's easier to run, in waiting when the answer hasn't yet arrived. Your silence, when offered in surrender, becomes a sanctuary of power. It becomes the fertile ground where miracles begin to root. Think of David, not as the warrior king with a crown, but as the shepherd alone in the field. Long before his voice reached the ears of a nation, it reached mine in songless prayer. Alone with sheep, with only the stars and the breath of creation around him. He learned that I could hear him even when no one else was listening. Those quiet fields became the training ground for his calling, not because of noise, but because of intimacy. What I did for David, in silence, I am doing for you now. Your calling is not forged in platforms and applause. It is cultivated in secret places, in the moments where you choose me in the dark, when you trust me in the in-between, when you hold on to me without needing to be seen or heard. I know how you feel, beloved. I know the struggle of wondering if what's happening in silence is real. But I assure you, the transformation I'm working within you now will outlast anything spoken into existence by human hands. There's a reason I allow you to walk through these silent seasons. It's not punishment. It's preparation. In silence, distractions fall away. In silence, the noise of others fades. In silence, you finally hear your own soul speak. And there, I meet you. The world cannot understand this kind of communion, but heaven celebrates it. Angels are not confused by your silence. They recognize its power. It echoes louder than songs sung from a place of pride. It moves heaven more than sermons spoken without surrender. I long for you to know that I have never required your perfection, only your presence. Your broken silence is more sacred to me than 1,000 flawless prayers said without heart. Come to me messy. Come to me tired. Come to me without a single word if that's all you can manage. I will still come to you with all of my heart. I am not afraid of your silence. I dwell in it. You have imagined that my answer must come with thunder, with clear signs and undeniable shifts. But I do not always answer with drama. Sometimes my answer is a quiet shift in your thinking, a softening in your spirit, a strength you didn't know you had. Sometimes the healing begins when you realize you no longer feel the weight that once crushed you. Sometimes my answer is a person I send to stand with you, a word spoken at just the right moment, a peace that settles without explanation. And sometimes my answer is simply me, holding you through the storm, remaining when everyone else has gone. You are not too quiet to be loved. You are not too broken to be healed. You are not too hidden to be seen. Your silent prayer is not the end. It is the beginning, a holy conversation between your heart and mine. One that I've already answered with my presence, my peace, and my promise. I will never leave you. I will never forsake the cries of your heart, even when they make no sound. I am here, and I am answering. You've walked through seasons where everything around you seemed to demand answers you didn't have. People asked how you were doing, and you nodded politely, giving them the words they expected while your soul screamed in silence. You've stood in worship services, surrounded by voices raised high, and wondered why your own wouldn't rise. You've listened to others testify of breakthrough while you quietly carried the weight of unanswered longing. And still, you remained. Silent, yes, but not faithless. Every time you chose not to give up, even when you couldn't speak the words, you were offering me a prayer more precious than gold. Let me say this to you plainly, so your heart never doubts it again. Your silence has never disqualified you from my presence. In fact, it has often brought you closer. When your defenses are down and your voice is gone, when you've run out of answers and explanations, Then I meet you with my fullness. You see, I don't need your voice to recognize your need. I don't need your articulation to understand your pain. I dwell in the space beyond your language. I move in the places your mind cannot yet reach. There's something holy about the way you've held on, even in the quiet. The way you've continued to sit with me, not because you saw evidence, but because you believed I was worthy of trust. That is worship in its purest form. Not the sound of your song, but the position of your heart. The world sees the silence as inactivity, but I see it as sacred communion. You've let your pain speak without interruption. You've stopped pretending to be okay. And in doing so, you've given me access to the real you. And I have never, not for a moment, rejected what is real. When the words disappeared and you feared your faith had disappeared with them, I was there. You didn't see it, but I was upholding you with unseen hands. I was defending you in the spirit. I was guarding your mind from lies that tried to masquerade as truth. I was covering you with grace even when you couldn't lift a prayer. And now I tell you, what you considered your weakest season will become the foundation of your greatest strength. The silence has not stolen your identity. It has revealed it. You're not a failure because you couldn't find the words. You are a warrior, wounded and still standing. You are a child of mine who chose to remain near even when the silence was uncomfortable, and for that, I honor you. I reward those who seek me, and seeking me in silence is not a lesser pursuit. It is a deeper one. You didn't lose me in the quiet. You discovered me there. You discovered that my voice is not always thunder, that my love is not always loud, and that my nearness is not always visible. But it is real, it is constant, and it is enough. There is something else I want you to understand. Your silent prayers didn't just echo through the chambers of heaven, they activated my response. Every groan, every sigh, every sleepless night became a seed. And I have not forgotten to water what you've sown. Just because the harvest isn't visible yet doesn't mean the soil is barren. I'm cultivating something in you that can only be born through trust. Deep, unshakable trust. The kind that is formed not through answers, but through presence. Your soul is being refined in ways you don't yet understand. The silence has slowed you, yes, but only so I could deepen you. You've been praying for answers, but I've been preparing your heart to carry them well. Some answers come swiftly, but others require a rewiring of who you think you are and how you see me. I am not withholding to punish you. I am preparing you to be sustained by what I am about to release. I don't just want to give you relief. I want to give you revelation. There's an intimacy I'm building with you that few will understand. Not because you're better, but because you've chosen to meet me in the space where most turn away. You haven't demanded signs or demanded I speak louder. You've simply stayed. And that stillness, your refusal to walk away, has created room for me to move in ways you never imagined. I am not in a hurry, because love is not rushed. I'm not racing to solve you. I'm staying to love you. That, my child, is my answer too. Sometimes my answers are not meant to end your prayer, but to extend our communion. You wanted a solution, but I wanted connection. You wanted clarity, but I wanted closeness. You wanted to move forward, but I wanted you to find me here. Because here, this place of waiting, longing, listening, is where your heart is learning how to rest, how to receive, how to be transformed. I am not just answering the cry of your circumstance. I am answering the cry of your spirit, the one that longed to know me beyond blessings, beyond breakthroughs, beyond words. You feared that silence meant separation, but now you're beginning to see the truth. Silence can be the soil of intimacy. The moments you thought were empty were actually full of me. the days you felt the most alone, were the days I was carrying you. I do not need to be loud to be near. I do not need to be seen to be at work. I am God, constant, faithful, unchanging. I was with you in the chaos, and I remain with you in the quiet. So hold on to this truth. I am not finished. What began in silence will not end in silence. I will answer you, not just with words or miracles, but with myself. I will reveal what the silence was shaping. I will bring forth fruit from the hidden places. And when it comes, you will not look back on this season with resentment. You will see it as sacred. A time when you met me not through noise, but through presence. Not through speaking, but through being. And you will know, truly know, that your silent prayer was never wasted. It was holy, and it was always heard. You've begun to sense that silence doesn't mean absence, but I know there's still a part of your heart that wonders why the answers take so long. You wouldn't be human if you didn't ache for resolution. You have waited in faith longer than you thought possible. And even in moments when you doubted, you kept coming back, kept hoping, kept looking toward me. That persistent return, though quiet, though bruised, is a testament to your strength. You see, beloved, waiting in silence is not passive. It is one of the bravest acts of faith you can live. There is a kind of trust that can only be birthed in the unknown. When your eyes see nothing, when your hands hold nothing, and still you lift your heart toward me, that is worship that reaches heaven in thunderous waves, though it's silent on earth. You thought your stillness was stagnant, but it has been a battleground where your soul was being refined, where your endurance was growing roots that no storm will ever tear from the ground. You are stronger than you know, not because you feel strong, but because you have stayed when it would have been easier to run. You've prayed for the pain to stop, for the weight to lift, for the answer to come clearly. And while those requests are holy and I honor them, I have seen beyond the surface of what you've asked. You wanted comfort, but I've been building courage. You asked for direction, but I've been shaping discernment. You cried out for peace, but I've been anchoring your soul so that peace will no longer be circumstantial. It will become who you are. That's what the silence has been doing, not denying you, but deepening you. You may not realize it yet, but you've already begun to change. The person you were when you first cried your silent prayer is not the same person sitting with me now. You are softer and stronger, more tender, and more grounded. You've begun to understand that my love is not measured in speed or spectacle. It's measured in presence, in constancy, in the way I never left even when you thought I had. I've walked with you every step of this journey. Even when your thoughts spiraled and your emotions collapsed, I was holding the parts of you that couldn't hold themselves together. It's okay to admit that this journey has been painful. You don't have to pretend. I have never asked you to silence your sorrow. I've only asked you to let me carry it. And when the sorrow became too deep for even your thoughts to reach, I still carried it. Then, you've been carrying so much alone, not because I asked you to, but because you weren't sure I wanted to hold it with you. Let me remove that lie now. I don't just want your victories, I want your vulnerabilities. I want the messy, uncertain, trembling pieces too. Those are the ones I cradle with the greatest care. There's a sacred power in bringing me what no one else sees. Others only see the surface, the small slivers you're brave enough to reveal. But I see all of it, even the parts you're afraid to name. And not only do I see, I cherish. I do not flinch at your fear, your disappointment, or your shame. I move toward it. I wrap myself around the brokenness and speak life into what you thought was dead. I do not grow weary of your silence, and I am never frustrated by your process. Even now, I'm answering prayers you forgot you prayed. I'm unfolding promises you thought had expired. I'm redeeming moments you believed were wasted. Nothing is lost with me, not a sigh, not a second, not a single silent cry. I store them like treasure, not because I need reminders, but because they matter to me that much. I collect them in my heart, and I respond in ways that eternity will celebrate, even if the present doesn't yet understand. You've asked if it's okay to feel tired. Yes, my love. It's more than okay. You were never meant to carry this alone. Let your tiredness be the turning point, not into despair, but into surrender. Lay your burdens down, not because you have no strength left, but because you've realized you were never created to walk without me. Let your silence now become sanctuary. Let your waiting become worship. Let your surrender become the doorway to a kind of peace the world cannot offer. Do not fear the quiet. Embrace it. For I'm speaking in ways that go beyond sound. I'm restoring your ability to feel joy again, to dream again, to believe again. And when my answers begin to rise in your life, they won't just be what you asked for. They will be what you didn't even know you needed. I know your true needs more deeply than you do, and I'm committed to fulfilling them in ways that align with your deepest identity, not just your current desire. Think of how a tree grows. It does not rush. It stretches slowly, quietly, firmly. It anchors itself in unseen soil long before branches reach the sky. You are that tree, beloved, and this silence has been your root work. Hidden, yes. Forgotten, never. I am the gardener, and I've been tending you with holy precision. There will be fruit. There will be beauty. But first, there must be roots, and you have let me go deep. I honor that. I honor you. So rest now, not in answers, but in assurance. Rest in the truth that I am not done, that I am working, that your silent prayer is not floating in the void. It is held in the chambers of heaven, alive and active. My timing is not delay. It is design. I don't rush what I love, and I love you beyond what you can imagine. I will answer. I am answering. And when the answer comes, it will be more than just a change of circumstance. It will be a resurrection of hope, a transformation of heart, a testimony written in silence, but declared in power. You are not forgotten. You are being held. You've walked through shadows, feeling like your voice was swallowed by the weight of the unknown, and yet, here you are, still turning your heart toward me. That alone is a miracle. That alone is prayer. You may not see the fullness of your own strength, but I do. You may not understand the depth of your own faith, but I do. And it is enough. Even in silence, it has always been enough. You ask yourself if you're doing this right, if you're failing because you don't feel like shouting praises or forming eloquent pleas. But child, my love is not earned through eloquence. I do not keep score of words. I'm not persuaded by how loud or how long you pray. I look for the honesty beneath your silence, the courage it takes to stay when everything within you wants to shut down. You have not failed. You have been faithful. Faithful in the quiet, faithful in the stillness, faithful in the places no one else sees. There are times when you think, if only I could feel something, anything. You've mistaken the absence of emotional noise for spiritual distance. But you need to know, the silence of your heart does not mean I've withdrawn. On the contrary, it often means I've drawn closer than ever before, gently holding you in a space where emotions are no longer the compass. Instead, I become your compass, not through feeling, but through abiding, not through sensation, but through presence. This is how deep trust is formed, not by the sound of your voice, but by the posture of your soul when it seems like nothing is moving. You see, your spirit has been speaking all along, through the tears that wouldn't fall, through the moments when you sighed and looked up at the ceiling, not sure what to say, through the dreams you dared not speak, because disappointment had visited too many times. All of that reached me, I heard every unvoiced fear, every suppressed desire. And I did not need a sentence to understand. I needed only your willingness to remain open. I needed only your yes, even if it came in the form of staying present when you felt nothing in return. You've thought that your silence was weakness, but in my kingdom, silence often marks strength. It is not weak to be still. It is powerful. It takes strength to endure, strength to wait, strength to keep believing when the heavens seem closed. You have displayed more faith in this season than in the times when words came easily, the kind of faith that angels celebrate, the kind of trust that moves mountains, not outward ones, but the ones inside your soul. And I have been moving within you. You haven't seen the fullness of it yet, but it's coming. The transformation has already begun. Where once there was fear, I've planted peace. Where once shame whispered in the dark, I've replaced it with dignity. You no longer need to shout to be seen. You don't need to perform to be loved. You belong to me, and I respond to who you are, not how you pray. You wonder what good could come from this season, why I've allowed this long stretch of quiet. But this is what I want you to see. In the silence, you've been learning to recognize my whisper. You've been learning that I'm not just the God of fire and wind. I'm the God of stillness, the God of breath, the God of closeness. This quiet has tuned your ears to frequencies you never noticed before. You're learning to hear me in subtler, more intimate ways, not just in answers, but in nearness. You have asked me to open doors, to make a way, to lift the burdens. I will do those things, but not without first establishing the foundation I know you'll need for what comes next. The prayers you whispered were not small. You asked for healing. You asked for wholeness. You asked to be used in ways that matter, and I have taken your requests seriously. So seriously that I've chosen to prepare you with precision, in silence, where roots grow before the fruit appears. Think of how the womb carries life before it is born. No one sees what's happening inside, but something sacred is developing. That's what I'm doing with you. Your silent prayers are like seeds planted in sacred soil, and I've been nurturing them in secret. There is life forming. There is purpose emerging, and when the time comes, what was grown in silence will testify louder than any voice could shout. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. I am not waiting for you to become more than you are right now. I'm already here, already answering, already shaping the outcome with hands of mercy. Sometimes my answer comes through others. A gentle word, a message that arrives just when you needed it, a feeling that somehow you're not as alone as you thought. Other times, my answer comes as a shift within, a resilience you didn't realize you had, a sense of peace that can't be explained. Do not dismiss these small answers. They are evidence that I am near. Let me also speak to your fears, the fear that your prayer won't be answered, the fear that this season will never end, the fear that silence means abandonment. Those fears are not your truth. I am your truth. I'm your ever-present help. I'm your answer, and I do not fail. What I began in you, I will complete. The timing may not align with your expectations, but the result will exceed them. Hold on, beloved, not because you have the strength, but because I am holding you, not because you can see the path, but because I am guiding every step. You don't need to speak right now. You don't need to find the perfect words. Just let your heart rest in mine. I hear you, I see you, and I will never turn away. Your silent prayer carries the same power as thunder when it is born in faith, and your faith has not gone unnoticed. It has shaken heaven. It has reached me, and I am responding, not just with answers, but with myself. I am the promise. I am the way. I am the presence that walks beside you through every silent valley. So breathe deeply. Exhale the fear. Inhale my peace. I have not forgotten. I have not ignored. I have heard you. And I am still here, still speaking, especially in the silence. There's something you may not have noticed. Your silence has changed shape. What began as a cry without words has become a sanctuary, a holy place where your soul and mind dwell together beyond the noise of this world. Do you feel it now? That subtle shift? Where once there was only aching emptiness, now there is a soft awareness, a quiet strength growing from deep within. This is not because the circumstances have suddenly shifted, but because you have. In the silence, you've been transformed. You feared the silence would hollow you out, but instead, I've been filling you, not with easy answers, but with eternal truths, not with temporary relief, but with enduring strength. I have not rushed this process, because I've wanted you to see that even in the absence of external change, I am enough. Your heart has been learning what it means to truly abide, to stay connected to me, not because I give you what you want, but because I'm your home. You have been taught to associate silence with being forgotten, but now I show you. Silence has been the echo of my invitation. I've used it to draw you nearer, to quiet the distractions, to remove the clutter of other voices. So many have tried to define you. So many have imposed expectations, roles and names that were never yours to carry. But in the quiet, I have whispered your true name. I have called you mine. I have reminded you that before you were ever anything else, you were beloved. Let me tell you what the silence has revealed to me. It showed me that even when you were tired, you didn't let go. Even when you felt numb, you didn't walk away. Even when it seemed like your prayers disappeared into the void, you still chose me. That kind of faith can't be faked. That kind of faith isn't born on mountaintops or in moments of celebration. It's formed in valleys, in shadows, in the hidden places where it's just you and me. And no applause, no confirmation, no proof. Only trust. And here you are, still breathing, still hoping, still reaching, even if it's only with the smallest fragment of your heart. I see that. I honor that. I respond to that. You've often wondered why I allow you to reach the point of silence in the first place. Why do I allow the waiting, the aching, the season of not knowing? My child, it's not because I delight in your struggle. Never. It's because I know what's waiting on the other side. If I gave you what you asked for too soon, it would collapse under the weight of your unhealed places. But in the silence, I've been healing. Quietly, tenderly, unseen but undeniably. Sometimes I withhold the answer, not because you're unworthy, but because I'm protecting what I plan to give you. I am preparing you to steward it well. I am anchoring you so deeply in my love that when the answer arrives, when the breakthrough comes, it won't define you. I will. Your identity will not be tied to outcomes, but to our relationship. Your peace will not fluctuate with change, because it will be rooted in something unchanging. Me. This is the beauty of silence. It burns away all the false ideas, all the illusions you didn't realize you carried. It dismantles the belief that you must strive to be heard, that you must perform to be loved. I have used this quiet time to dismantle every lie that said you had to be more to deserve more. You don't. You already belong. You already matter. You already carry my image, my breath, my delight. Think back to the times you thought you were at your lowest. The moments when despair crept in like a fog and hope seemed like a distant memory. And yet, here you are. You didn't just survive, you were shaped. You didn't just make it through, you became more resilient, more aware, more rooted in me. You may not have seen me then, but you're beginning to understand now. I was there in every silence, not watching from a distance, but weeping with you, holding you, shaping something eternal within you. Do not let the enemy convince you that the silence has been wasted. He will try to whisper that you've been abandoned, that your faith has failed. But I tell you the truth, you are more alive now than you've ever been. You're hearing more clearly, feeling more deeply, loving more purely. This silence hasn't diminished you. It has revealed your true self. The self not wrapped in performance. The self not defined by what you achieve. The self that is utterly, irrevocably loved. And now something beautiful is happening. You're learning to rest, not because everything makes sense, but because you trust me, even when it doesn't. That's what peace truly is. Not the absence of chaos, but the presence of confidence in my care. You are learning to let go of the need to control, the need to explain, the need to justify your longing. And in return, I am giving you something far greater than answers. I am giving you myself. I am not just the God who listens. I am the God who stays, who sits in the silence with you, who walks through the shadows, who speaks in the stillness, who breathes hope when you've run out of strength. I will never rush you out of the valley. I will walk with you until you are ready to rise. And when you do, it won't be because the silence ended. It will be because you discovered that you were never alone in it. Your prayer, unspoken yet not unseen, has always mattered. It has moved heaven. It has shaken chains. It has brought me closer than you've ever known. And when the time comes, the fruit of this silent season will be unmistakable. Not just in what changes around you, but in what has changed within you. You are no longer the same person who first entered the quiet. You are stronger, softer, braver. You have roots now. And soon, those roots will bear fruit. Fruit that will bless others, nourish souls, and testify of a God who speaks even when all is still. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not broken, beyond repair. You are mine, and I am answering, even now. You have waited long enough to be heard by the world. But I want you to know, beloved, you have never had to wait to be heard by me. From the very beginning, even before the silent prayers, before the unspoken aches, I knew your heart. I knew what you needed before you even became aware of the void. And still, I invited you to come, to bring your ache, your questions, your silence. Not because I needed information from you, but because I wanted intimacy with you. Silence has stripped away all the places you used to hide behind. No more rehearsed responses. No more surface-level assurances. Just you. Just me. Raw, real, unfiltered. And I have delighted in this closeness. I have savored the way your soul leaned into me when words failed. I have treasured your fragile courage as sacred, watching you step forward each day with no guarantees, no booming signs, only the faint but persistent pull of my spirit inside you saying, "Keep going. I am with you." There's a kind of beauty in what's been born in this space. It's not loud beauty, not the kind that turns heads or earns applause. It's quieter, truer, like the morning dew that nourishes unseen, like a root growing deeper into soil no one will ever dig up. You may not have seen it yourself yet, but your soul glows differently now. It's been marked by trust. It's been sealed with grace. You carry a stillness now that speaks louder than the noise ever could. And I know you've wondered if the silence would ever lift. You've asked whether the clouds would ever break, whether you'd ever hear me speak clearly again. You've been afraid to hope too much, because hope, when unfulfilled, has felt like a wound that never closes. But let me reassure you, my silence was never disconnection. It was preparation. for what is coming will require this level of depth, this level of stillness within you. I've been building a sanctuary inside your soul that no storm can shake and no silence can erase. Soon what has been hidden will come to light, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that affirms every quiet moment you've walked with me. The answers you've sought, some of them will arrive wrapped in joy, others in wisdom, and a few in the realization that the silence itself was the answer. Because through it, you discovered that I am not just the giver of gifts, I am the gift. When you first prayed silently, you were pleading for change. You asked for doors to open, for wounds to heal, for loneliness to lift. And I heard every one of those cries. But what I've given you first is myself. So that when the doors open, you'll walk through them knowing who you are. When the healing comes, you'll carry it with compassion for others. When the loneliness fades, it won't be because you found people. It'll be because you've learned that I've always been enough. This kind of intimacy doesn't come in noise. It doesn't blossom in chaos. It grows where surrender dwells. And you, my precious child, have surrendered more than you realize. You let go of needing to be strong. You released the idea that you had to have the right words. You dropped the masks you wore to convince others that you were fine. In the silence, you finally came to me as you are. And that, more than anything else, has been your most powerful prayer. The world will try to convince you that stillness is failure, that if there's no progress, you must be doing something wrong. But I do not measure growth the way the world does. I see the courage it takes to keep breathing when you want to give up. I see the faith it takes to keep trusting when nothing makes sense. I see the humility in your silence. Not because you're defeated, but because you've stopped striving to control what only I can shape. And because of that surrender, my response will not be delayed. It will be perfect. Not always fast, not always flashy, but always right. Always exactly what your heart needs at the exact moment it is ready to receive it. I don't tease you with hope. I don't stir longing only to leave it empty. Every desire placed within your heart that aligns with my truth has a purpose, and I waste nothing. Not even the desires that were buried in silence. Especially those. You may not even remember every silent prayer you whispered, but I do. I have not lost a single one. They are alive in my presence, active with purpose, wrapped in eternal love. You will see the fruit. Some will grow slowly, others will bloom suddenly. But all will bear witness to the love I have poured over your life, especially in the seasons you thought I had gone quiet. So lift your head, beloved, not because the silence is ending, but because your spirit is rising. You are no longer defined by the waiting. You are defined by the one who has waited with you. I will never be a distant observer in your life. I am your constant, your defender, your father, your friend. I am the one who sits beside you in silence and never stops speaking love over your soul. Let that be your confidence. Not that you have all the answers, but that you are fully known and fully loved, even without saying a word. Let it be enough for now to know that I am not absent in the quiet. I am abundant in it. I am speaking through the silence in ways your heart is just beginning to understand. Your silent prayer, offered in the stillness, is not a weak cry into darkness. It is a sacred communion. It is the place where heaven bends low, where I draw nearest, where my love speaks loudest, and it will not return to you empty. The seeds planted in silence will bloom with purpose. The answers born in quiet will shape your future. And the intimacy we've built together, this holy, wordless knowing, will carry you through whatever comes next. You are seen, you are known, you are held, and I am answering you even now. Now we return to where your heart first cried out. in silence. We come full circle, not to repeat what has been, but to restore what was broken, to revive what grew still, to bring you into the light of understanding. I was always answering you, not just waiting for the moment your voice could rise again, but responding all along to every hidden ache and every quiet plea that left your lips in whispers or tears or nothing at all. You see it now, don't you? Not all at once, but in glimpses. How I met you in places you didn't know I could reach. How I held you together when your spirit felt splintered. How you endured. Yes, endured. Through the long hush of heaven, not because you were abandoned, but because you were being deepened. Your roots went down into places they had never been. And what I built in that deep, silent soil is unshakable. Now, nothing and no one can convince you that I left you, because you've lived through the silence and discovered I was in it all along. You thought the answer was the miracle, the breakthrough, the change you longed for. And yes, I love to give good gifts. Yes, I still part seas and move mountains. But now you know something far richer. The answer is me. Not the change around you, but the constancy within you. Not the resolution of your situation, but the revelation of my heart. You wanted me to speak, but now you've learned to hear me in my silence. You expected sound, but I gave you substance. Your faith no longer clings to noise or signs. It rests in presence, my presence. You've learned that I don't just dwell in answers, I dwell in you. My spirit breathes in your spirit, and even when your soul was too weary to speak, my breath still carried your prayer. My love still held it. My promise still answered it in ways you couldn't yet perceive. You see, not all answers look the way you imagined. Sometimes my response is not the open door, but the closed one that kept you from destruction. Sometimes it's the friend who showed up when you couldn't speak, the stranger who said the very words you couldn't form, the unexpected moment of peace that settled like a balm over your restless soul. Sometimes the answer is a softening of your own heart, a forgiveness you thought was impossible, a strength you didn't know was yours, a comfort that came with no explanation other than me. And even now, there are answers unfolding that you don't see yet, because some of what you've prayed for requires timing you cannot understand, movement that would be wasted if rushed. I am not denying you. I'm designing something better than you dared to hope. And because you remained faithful in the silence, you are now prepared to receive what I've been preparing for you. You have not been forgotten in the crowd. You have not been passed over. I have not chosen others and left you behind. My love is not a resource I ration. My favor is not dependent on your volume. My miracles do not require that you impress me. You are my child, my delight, my joy, and your quiet, unspoken hope is just as powerful in my kingdom as a shouted declaration. In fact, often it is more pure, because it rises not from performance but from trust. So now I say this to you: the season of silence will not be wasted. The prayers that felt like echoes in a cave have already begun to blossom in the soil of my promise. You will see the fruit, and when it comes, you'll know it didn't come from striving or eloquence or perfect timing. It came from abiding. It came from being still with me. It came from a relationship that was not built on demands, but on devotion. And more than that, I will now use what you've walked through to minister to others. There are those around you, some you know, some you haven't yet met, who are standing in their own silence, who feel as lost, as voiceless, as invisible as you once did. And when you speak to them, not loudly but gently, they will recognize something holy in your voice. They will hear not your words alone, but my heart within them, because you've lived it. And now you carry something sacred, not just a testimony of survival, but of communion, of hearing me in the silence, and finding life there. Let me assure you again, in case any part of your heart still wonders, I heard you. I always did. From the first silent prayer to the last sigh of surrender, I heard it all, and I responded, not just with answers, but with myself. I walked every step beside you. I sat with you when the world moved on. I caught every tear you couldn't cry. And now, I pour back into you the fullness of my peace, the richness of my presence, and the clarity of my voice. Not through thunder, but through truth. You're not the same. The silence didn't leave you hollow. It made you holy. And I am still answering you even now. Now, my child, pause and look with me, not behind in regret, but within, where the true answers have always waited. You asked for so many things when your words fell silent: healing, peace, strength, direction. You thought you were asking into the void, but I was closer than your next breath, already cradling every silent plea. I have not only heard you, I have lived each wordless prayer alongside you. What you thought was an empty silence was actually me drawing near without fanfare, resting with you in the ache and holding space for the transformation I knew was coming. The journey through the silence was never meant to leave you in longing. It was always a passageway into belonging. Belonging not just to a plan or a promise, but to me, to my heart, to my eternal presence. I have walked with you from the moment your voice quieted, and now I walk with you into a new chapter, not because you've earned it, but because I've already written it in love. The silence did not delay my purpose, it revealed it. In what felt like divine stillness, I was building something that couldn't be shaken by noise or time, unwavering trust between us. Now you know me in ways words can't explain, not as a distant God who answers with lightning, but as a tender father who sits beside his child in the night, as the friend who doesn't need explanations to stay close, as the shepherd who leads, even when the sheep are too weary to call out. You've come to know me as the constant one, the patient one, the unmovable refuge when all other voices fade. And now, beloved, I want you to carry that knowing into every room you enter. The world may still demand answers, demand action, demand noise, but you will walk differently now, not striving to be heard, but grounded in the truth that you already are. You won't fear the quiet anymore, because you've discovered what dwells there. You won't panic in the pause, because you've met me in the stillness. And even when the world feels chaotic again, you'll carry within you a sanctuary built in our secret place. You'll carry the memory, not just of your silent prayers, but of my presence in response. There will still be moments, even ahead, where you may feel speechless again, but this time, you won't be afraid. This time, you'll remember. You'll remember that silence isn't empty. It's an invitation, a sacred threshold where I meet you without pretense. And when those moments come, you will know how to enter them with peace. You'll breathe deeply and return to the sanctuary within, where your soul first learned that I am faithful without needing to shout it. You have grown in silence. You have healed in silence. And now, you will bear fruit from silence. Because what I've cultivated in you is not just for you, it is for others. They will come to you with their confusion, their fears, their unanswered prayers, and you will recognize the look in their eyes. You will recognize the ache of those who have cried in the dark. And when they cannot find the words, you will be the one who reminds them. You don't have to speak to be seen. He hears you. He is already answering. And you will say it not because it's a beautiful thought, but because you have lived it. You've touched the truth in your own silent nights, and that truth has become a fire within you, a fire that doesn't burn loudly, but steadily, a light that won't fade when the room goes quiet. This is your legacy, not a perfect prayer life, but a surrendered life, not a performance of faith, but the presence of faith in every breath, spoken or unspoken. So let go of the guilt. Let go of the wondering if you could have prayed better, louder, more faithfully. Let go of the idea that you missed something or delayed something. You haven't missed anything. You haven't failed. You've simply lived through something sacred. And now, I give you my peace, not as the world gives it, but as I alone can give. A peace that anchors, that settles, that reassures. A peace that reminds you that even if the answers unfold slowly, you are no longer waiting alone. You never were. You are free now, free from the pressure to prove, free from the fear of being misunderstood, free from the lie that silence is spiritual failure. Your voice may rise again, and when it does, let it rise with joy, not fear. But even if it doesn't for a while, even if you find yourself again in the quiet, remember, we are never further apart in silence. We are often closer. We are often clearest. And what I have whispered to you here in the silence, I will write in bold across the rest of your life. You will see it in unexpected provisions. You will feel it in moments of comfort that make no sense. You will hear it in the words of others that echo what your heart needed. You will live in the fruit of prayers you thought I forgot, and you will smile because you'll know the truth. I never forget. I never fail. I always answer. You asked if I would hear your silent prayer. Now you know. I have not only heard, I have answered. In healing, in wholeness, in hope, in me. Amen. Now, beloved, share this truth. Let someone else know they are not alone. Speak gently or simply sit beside them in silence. That alone may be the greatest message of all. When you're ready, I will guide your next step. But for now, rest, be still. You are loved, always.